Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Billy Napier, the Florida Gators, kicking off spring practice Thursday afternoon. But I want to focus on some of the news and notes that we got from the you might call it pre-spring press conference that Billy Napier gave earlier today, where these press conferences are always really insightful because it's kind of radio silence from the program for the last 2 months during that winter workout period. Then you start hearing about some injury updates. Then you start hearing about some position changes that I think are very notable for this Florida football team. Fired up to get into it. I think the biggest storyline, at least for me, is Bryce Lovett kicking out to right tackle. We'll talk about the DJ Lagway limited in spring practice. I think that's kind of a nothing burger, at least the way I look at it. Before we get into it, as always, to the Florida fans, y'all let it fly in the comment section. And a quick shout out, as always, to the Florida fans. This has been a program that's been a blast for me to talk about, and it's going to be really fun over the next couple of weeks, not only in spring practice, but we're starting to hear some buzz on the recruiting trail as well. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Without further ado, let's get into it, and let's start with what I thought was the Billy Napier kind of slid this one in during the press conference. Bryce Lovett going to get the nod at right tackle to start spring practice. And this has been the biggest storyline because you look at this Florida Gators offense. I mean, you're returning 4 out of your 5 starters from last year. The only non-returner you have is at right tackle. And the question was, all right, who's going to play right tackle? What's the competition going to look like? We thought it might have included Cam Waits. Sounds like Cam Waits is going to go back into guard, which I personally I'm a big fan of. I don't think he had the athleticism to play tackle, kind of similar to Damian George. Like Cam Waits might be a good guard. I don't think he'd be a very good tackle in the SEC. I would expect it to come down to Fletcher Westphal and Bryce Lovett. 2 young tackles that I think Florida really likes on the offensive line. And Billy Napier noted this in the press conference, and we've talked about this for the last couple of weeks as well. It finally feels like the depth in competition is where it should be within Florida's offensive line. And Billy Napier talked about how we stacked a bunch of offensive linemen in our high school recruiting classes over the last couple of years, and now all these guys are going into year 2, year 3 within this program. There's a lot of continuity within this unit, and I think just as importantly, this unit got significantly better over the course of 2024, along with pretty much the rest of the team during that 2024 year. Now, Bryce Lovett at right tackle is interesting. I think he shaped his body. So he started that game against Tulane in the bowl game at right tackle when Crenshaw Dixon wasn't playing. Went back and watched it because I didn't think he'd stay out at tackle. I thought they'd kind of kick him back into guard. He looked apart. I thought he played very, very good football, specifically in the run game against Tulane. I mean, Bryce Lovett's a big body that can move people off the line of scrimmage. I think there are some things in pass protection that probably need to get cleaned up, but you look at the body type and say he's long. I think he's leaned out his frame a little bit. There's a lot to like about Bryce Lovett potentially being the starting right tackle for Florida, and I think a lot of Florida fans are saying, hey, more competition, the merrier at right tackle. If we can get guys like Bryce Lovett and a guy like Fletcher Westphal and potentially a guy like Devin Manuel all competing for that starting right tackle spot, you kind of assume the right tackle play is going to be solid for Florida in 2025. I continue to buy stock with this Florida offensive line going into 2025, and it's really part of the biggest reason, one of the biggest reasons that I'm high on this football team going into 2025. And we talk about this all the time. The national media points to DJ Lagway, and rightfully so, in terms of why Florida can be so dangerous in 2025. I'm telling you, there's a lot about this program that's really good and looks good outside of DJ Lagway going into the 2025 year. Number 2, DJ Lagway limited. I really don't think this is all that big of a storyline. You know what you have with DJ Lagway. You know what you have with the arm talent. We want to keep him healthy, and we want him progressing between the years. We know DJ Lagway can make all the throws. And he's only limited in terms of throwing the football. He's going to do everything else in practice, which I think is more important. If you look at DJ Lagway, there's 2 objectives here in the offseason. One, keep him healthy, which was, I don't think many people realize. I don't know what Florida fans do, but I don't think many casual college football fans realize how banged up DJ Lagway was during the course of his true freshman campaign. A healthy DJ Lagway, I think, is going to look a little different. in 2025. So one, you want to make sure you keep him healthy, because if Florida does something special in 2025, it's DJ Lagway slinging the pill around. But I think secondly, we know he can throw the football. We know he can make all the throws on the football field because we saw him do it as a true freshman. For a lot of us who've been talking about Florida the last couple of weeks, it's much more of, hey, diagnosing the defense, knowing when to take what's there, being able to kind of go through your reads and kind of operate between the ears at a higher level. That shouldn't stop his development. Just because he's limited throwing the football should not stop his development between the ears as a quarterback. And I think that's what matters most for Florida going into the 2025 year. Number 3 big takeaway, these young wide receivers will play. Billy Napier noted it was a smaller transfer portal class that Florida took. And I know that frustrated a lot of Florida fans in the moment, certainly frustrated me a little bit too. But what he said is, hey, we feel really good about a lot of this freshman class coming in playing early for Florida. And so normally you don't really rely on a ton of true freshmen to play meaningful snaps for you in a season. We saw it a lot last year for Florida. I think we expected to see it this year as well, specifically in the wide receiver room on the offensive side of the football. Dallas Wilson, Vernell Brown, it sounds like those two are going to play. And I think another interesting note, J. Michael Sturdivant, miles per hour clocked in winter workouts, 23 miles per hour. Oh, so you're telling me J. Michael Sturdivant at 6'4", 200 plus can burn down the field. That's what we needed. That's why Florida went out and got J. Michael Sturdivant. Hey, DJ Lagway throws a better deep ball than anybody in the country. We got to go give him some vertical wide receivers that can work vertically down the field and go make some plays. J. Michael Sturdivant at 6'4", 200 plus pounds, running 23 miles per hour. That's what you want to hear if you're a Florida fan coming out of that press conference. Another interesting kind of nugget that Billy Napier dropped in there, LJ McCray going to be making the move to the jack or playing the jack role. And I don't know, I mean, he kind of bounced around a little bit in the 2024 year. We noted this when LJ McCray came into Florida as a prospect in terms of body type. Feels very similar to Kelby Collins, probably just a little bit better of an athlete. And what I mean by feels similar to Kelby Collins is there was kind of a tweener with LJ McCray. He's going to play inside. He's going to play outside. I'm kind of surprised he's playing that jack linebacker spot because he's really big body. He's pushing 270, but he's a really good athlete. And so I'm kind of intrigued. And at the end of the day, we said this when LJ McCray committed to Florida. It's like, pick a spot for him. Let him sit there and develop. It's probably going to work out for this kid. He's just too good of an athlete for it not to. And I'm happy that Florida seems to say, all right, we got you in the program for a year. Now we're picking a position and we're going to let you develop into a good football player. I'm going to be interested to see what LJ McCray looks like out there at Jack. On the interior of the defensive line, Caleb Banks dealing with a foot injury. I'm not saying that's a good thing, right? Y'all know that. But what I mean by what I'm saying here is it a blessing in disguise for guys like Dontre Robinson and guys like McCray and guys like Jamari Lyons if he can come back during spring, or a guy like Tavares Brown, where it's like we know what we have with Caleb Banks. Caleb Banks could miss all his spring practice. As long as he's healthy for August, we feel good that we're getting one of the better interior defensive linemen in the country. With Caleb Banks maybe being absent a little bit, McCray, Dontre getting more opportunities to play on the inside and develop in spring, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, because that one thing that we are concerned about on defense is the depth on the defensive line. This is going to give the staff a really good opportunity over the next couple of weeks to evaluate where we are with some of these young cats on the middle of that defensive line. Last but not least, young players will play in the secondary. Billy Napier was very clear that there are two position groups that he really likes in terms of the freshman class: wide receivers, guys in the secondary. You're also dealing with some injuries back there. And so I'm interested to see, Ben Hanks Jr., Lonzo Hayward, Drake Stubbs. Billy Napier is very clear they're going to get a lot of opportunity over the next couple of weeks. And I think that's good, because I think you got a lot of really good football players back there that you want to make sure are ready going into 2025 as well. It seems like a pretty healthy team. And that's we haven't always said that for Florida going into spring ball. And they're healthy at with the players that need to be healthy. Okay, a guy like Caleb Banks going to miss a little bit of time. I'm okay with that. Caleb Banks doesn't need to participate in spring practice. We know what he is as a football player. We're healthy with the players that we want to see develop in spring practice. I think that's a really big takeaway. We got a lot to talk about. We'll obviously talk about the guys who are standing out in spring practice as the next couple of practices kind of roll on. We'll close it out there. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.